come to... Oh dear, Mr. Wake. I'm so glad you're here.
Rose, you have my manuscript?
Oh. Oh yes. Yes. Please, come in.
So after finishing for a second time Alan Wake, I have to say the story by far still holds up. And I'm happy that AMC is developing an Alan Wake TV show, because that's the one thing that I have been missing. I always wondered if it would be more of like a David Lynch type of look and feel to it when it was made, mixed with like a Stephen King horror element. And that's what I'm hoping that we do get from an Alan Wake TV show. But this is more about my second go around with Alan Wake and the problems with the game, as well as the things that I like the most. First thing I'm going to point out with the Alan Wake game is the jumping mechanics are absolutely dog shit. They're terrible. I hate trying to jump on crates or maybe on logs or fences, or even at some point at near the end of the game, you have you're crossing the bridge and the platforms underneath you start to shake and move around, and you kind of have to jump around, and it feels very, very finicky and overall just absolutely terrible. So here's hoping they fix that in the Alan Wake 2 game coming out on October 17th. Another annoying thing is it's hard to get out of actions. And what I mean by that is when you're maybe turning on a light and you have to sit there and hit the A button on the green bar 3 times. I believe there's one that the bar is a little bit smaller. You have to do 4 times. But when there's enemies, it will hit you in animations. So essentially, sometimes you have to back out of that animation of what you're doing in order to put a flashlight on whatever enemies coming up behind you so you don't get hit, because the enemies will get in this constant hit thing where essentially they will ring together 3 to 4 attacks and just insta-kill you. And it gets really fucking annoying when you can't back out of certain things in order to deal with them so you don't die. And that's another thing that I'm hoping is fixed in Alan Wake 2. One of the positives, and I talked about this early at the beginning, which was the story.
Previously on Alan Wake, I'm hunted by the law.
Sheriff, Wake's running. I'm giving chase.
Are you seriously telling me that writer just took out my deputies?
A thriller I supposedly wrote is coming true. The genre of the story seems to be shifting. It's turning into a horror story. I was told that Alice had been kidnapped, but that was a lie.
We don't have his wife. We don't know where she is.
Her purported kidnapper was eaten up by the dark presence before it attacked me.
Alan Wake has one of the best stories that I've ever been told in a video game. I love the idea that there's this guy, Alan Wake, who essentially goes to this town and he's dragged into almost like this nightmare of sorts, and the only thing that you can use as your weapons are essentially the light, and then popping guys and then using your guns on them. But the game is just overall so fucking awesome because of the story. And it's a story that stuck with me even after playing it 13 years ago. It stuck with me. I still remember certain parts of it. And that's kudos to the longevity and how fantastic a story is. The only other game that really has done that is Metal Gear Solid 4. I played it one time, and that's it, but it's always stuck with me. And Alan Wake is one of those games that has that type of story.
Why, right. That's the spirit. You're being very brave, Alan. I understand you're confused. I would be more concerned if you weren't suspicious of me. I don't blame you for it.
You get 2 pills in the morning, and then you'll be nice and calm all day long. You get 3 pills in the evening, and then you sleep like a baby.
Another thing that it's again, it's kind of due to the tech. It was a very early on Xbox 360 game, but a lot of the areas can feel a little bit too familiar. And essentially, when you're walking around and you go into different chapters, you kind of want to feel that each chapter is its own thing, or each chapter is unique in terms of the area that you explore. But sometimes it feels like the area is, similar to the last chapter, which again, that's probably because of the tech. And from what I've seen in the Alan Wake 2 trailer, it seems like the levels will have a lot more variety, which is a very, very good thing. So the driving mechanics in Alan Wake are absolutely fucking dog shit. That's another thing. It's hard to get a control of the car sometimes. It just steers off course. I understand there's certain parts where you're just riding on dirt road, and that's going to cause your tires to kind of skid and move you off course, and can be a little bit hard to control. But again, most of the time you're in like a Ford truck, so it should be a lot easier than it actually is. So driving mechanics is something that I hope they fix in the next game. One of the big things that I really love about Alan Wake is it does a fantastic job of balancing things out. When you're in an area where you have to take on maybe 12 to 13 enemies at a time, and sometimes it can range even higher than that, essentially you're given just enough ammo, flares, guns, and batteries for your flashlights in order to take out all these enemies. And each chapter you essentially start anew, so basically you lose all your guns, all your ammo, all your flashlights, everything. And that's not as annoying as you might think it is, or at least as I might have thought it was. So but overall, yeah, it balances it up very well with how many enemies are on screen and how much they provide you. It feels like it's not enough, but it will get you through the game. The final boss in Alan Wake feels kind of rushed and sudden, and there's sort of a build up towards it. Essentially, you're moving in towards this F5 tornado of sorts, and you have to use, well, the easiest way is to use 3 flare gun bullets and you kill the last boss. And then after that, you wind up going and you use a flashlight on various words that you're typing at the typewriter for the story. And then from there, you basically, that's it. You flash a clicker on Alice, and that's the end of the game. And it feels kind of sudden, and because of that, it kind of leaves you at least thinking about the game, even after the game is finished, so that's a good thing. One thing that I will give as a tip to anybody that might want to go back and play Alan Wake before Alan Wake 2 coming out is the best strategy sometimes is to run. There's a lot of times where there's infinite guys, they just non-stop keep coming up behind you until you reach a checkpoint, which is usually almost like a street light that you go underneath, and that's your checkpoint. Then you can heal up and your batteries can regenerate. And it's just best sometimes to run. You don't have to kill and shoot everything that you see on screen. In fact, doing so will usually cause you to die. So that's something that I really like about this game, because having to run from enemies and you're just like, there's a street light, I have to just go a little bit further and I'll get it. And then once you reach it, it just feels like this almost sense of calm and relaxation that you're like, I made it. It's a good feeling. It's a great way to make a game feel more engaging. One of the annoying things I did find about Alan Wake is, in most games, when you go off the unbeaten path and you essentially steer off to the side or down an alley or what have you, and you're essentially looking for maybe collectibles, maybe ammo, crates, whatever it might be. In Alan Wake, they allow you to go off on the path, but there's usually nothing there most of the time. In fact, the only time that you can pretty much guarantee that you will find something on an unbeaten path is when you see the little yellow arrows that will direct you to a chest, which a lot of the time doesn't have really anything. In fact, the red emergency box that you'll find scattered throughout the game are far more rewarding. So Matthew Peretta is the dude who voices Alan Wake, and I ain't gonna lie, this dude sounds almost how I imagined if Christian Bale from the American Psycho lent his voice to perform as Alan Wake in this game, that it would be identical.
Mott knew that Wake was smarter than him. Wake had more money, a beautiful wife, everything. And Hartman said Wake was important. That made him better than Mott.
I killed Paul Allen. And I liked it.
Hey, Paul!
Did you know I'm utterly insane? I'm Patrick Bateman. I chopped Allen's fucking head off.
And Matthew Peretta his voice is fantastic. I love his voice. I love because essentially with this game, it's a psychological horror game. So Alan Wake, you don't know if he's fucking insane or what have you, and that's why his voice sounding like the Christian Bale's The American Psycho works so well in this game, and I absolutely love it. And I believe he's going to be voicing the same character in Alan Wake 2 as well. So dodging mechanic, and that's really the only way that you can avoid guys who are snipers with axe throwing, and it sucks. The dodging mechanic in this game is pretty terrible. I mean, you can hit it on point a good amount of times, but most of the time, because there's so many enemies on the screen or in the environment at the exact same time, it only allows you to dodge once, and then you pretty much have to wait a little bit, then you can dodge again, and as well as run. You can't run that long in this game. I wish there was some type of stamina thing that you could upgrade so that Alan Wake could last a lot longer in terms of running, because maybe that might make this game too easy, and I guess the Remedy might have had in their mind, well, we want to kind of have the player panic when playing this game, so if they feel annoyed or frustrated by the fact that Alan Wake can't run very long distances for very long times, essentially that's a good thing. That's kind of what we want. I don't like it. I hate the fact that you sit there and you can't run that long. I think it sucks, and I hate just the dodging mechanic. I wish there was some type of, I don't know, I'm not asking for Assassin's Creed type of dodging and maneuvering mechanics, but just something a little bit better, and hopefully it is a little bit better in Alan Wake 2. Another useful tip that I will say in this game is to use your environment around you. If you do wind up going back and playing, something that I didn't realize until Chapter 4 is there's a lot of exploding barrels and I believe fire hydrants in that if you shoot will blow up and kill a good little small pocket of enemies to help you out. And using the lights around you as well in your environment are very beneficial. Essentially, the game gives you everything you need to easily beat it. You just have to make use of it. There are some minor glitches here and there in Alan Wake, but they're not it's not broken by any means, or it doesn't hold up. In my initial first impression, I had made it seem like maybe it was a little worse than it actually is, but as we played throughout the game, the frame rates, I'm not expecting this game to be 60 frames per second 4K. That's just not what Alan Wake is meant for. But it doesn't you get used to it, so it's just not that bad. The worst thing that can really happen to you in this game is the fact that you can get stuck on a lot of things, get stuck in between small little spots that you jumped into. It feels more claustrophobic than it actually is, and this just feels like it's more glitchy. It's not intentional, it's just how the game is made, and again, it's the barrier is the tech at the time, so I fully expect this is something that a lot of these issues, I imagine Remedy knows and is going to fix in the next one. One of the cooler things too is the fact that after each episode that you beat, and there's 6 in total, it took us probably about 14 hours to beat the game, and we were really looking around for the thermoses, the manuscripts, trying to pretty much collect everything and seeing what, exploring all the areas possible in this game. So that's why it took us a little bit longer. At the end of each episode, there is a theme song that essentially plays.
Come here, pretty please. Can you tell me where I am?
And it's, or at least a unique song to at the end of each episode, and that's just something that's even cooler, because I grew up watching Supernatural, and at the end of each Supernatural episode there'll be like a cool like throwback 80s rock song or something around there, and it just was a great way to end each episode and roll the credits that way. So yeah, kudos to the Remedy for making Alan Wake feel episodic and feel like a real TV show. While the game is fairly linear in nature, there is a lot of creative strategies that you can use to take on enemies. There's different ways that you can take on bosses, and it all is a matter of, you, like I said before, using your environment around you. So you can make quick work of a lot of areas and a lot of bosses and a lot of enemies just by simply using your environment, or using, like, saving your flare guns or saving your stun grenades. Doing that is going to make this game far easier than you can possibly imagine. It's the story, it's the creativity of the strategizing of how to take on each area, and really just the unique characters and world of Alan Wake that makes it such a great experience overall. And that's and I love Alan Wake. I think it's a phenomenal game, and I can't wait for the second one to come out. I'm giving Alan Wake a 4.5 out of 5. I just love this story so fucking much. This just my small minor grievances that I have. I was going to give it 4.25 because of it, but honestly, the story just carries this game, and the fact that it just stood the test of time is just such a huge kudos to the game. That's my opinion on Alan Wake. I want to hear from you in the comments down below. Have you played Alan Wake? Are you excited for Alan Wake 2? Let us know. And also down below, you'll find a description where me and my brother Rocky's all of the socials are located, as well as a link to our other main channel, Smokin Sessions, where we do movie reviews, tier lists, all sorts of movie-related content that I'm sure you'll fucking enjoy, honestly. Just because we're doing a podcast soon, and we're very passionate about movies, and so if you enjoy gaming sessions, I think you'll enjoy Smokin Sessions as well. And if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to leave a like, and don't forget to hit the subscribe button, as well as hit that bell so it turns on notifications, so anytime a new video from Gaming Sessions drops, you're made aware of it automatically. And thank you so much for watching and or listening to this video. I enjoyed the hell out of Alan Wake. I can't wait for October 17th when Alan Wake 2 drops, and we're going to review it on Gaming Sessions. So thank you so much for watching and listening, and we will see you all next gaming session.
It's not a lake. It's an ocean.
Alan, wake up.
I spaced out of my head to the depths of the universe. It's a spell or a chance just to open up a newer